Good afternoon and welcome to a special Talking Points webisode. I'm Dan Prager. This week has been a busy one in the world of sports. Anthem protests have hit a fever pitch. Vice President Mike Pence walked out on a 49ers Colts game last week when players kneeled. Roger Goodell is meeting with NFL owners next week, previously to talk about banning the kneeling protests, now to just talk about what's going on. A lot has happened and a lot is going to happen soon. We wanted to check in on the state of the sports world, so back with us is Zach Lang, and we also have Jack Watson joining the panel. Guys, thanks for being here.
Glad to be here.
So, Zach, we talked about this 2 weeks ago. We discussed what was going on when the Anthem protests kind of really fired up. What has changed in those 2 weeks?
Well, I think it really has changed now since Mike Pence has been brought into the picture. He attended the Colts 49ers game, originally to honor the fact that Peyton Manning was getting a new statue outside of the Lucas Oil Stadium. However, obviously things went haywire when he left the game right after the anthem. So he didn't get to see that good overtime finish, but it comes down to the fact that this whole thing was a big PR stunt, and to be honest, it's awful. It's not cool, and what he has done has shown that this presidency is more concerned about protesting players than about what is going on in other instances in the country like Puerto Rico and the hurricane relief efforts.
And Jack, I think this is a very contentious issue in itself because Mike Pence did use taxpayer money to attend this game and then walked out. But a lot of people are saying he has the very same right to protest as these players protesting on the field. He has that right. What are you thinking? Right,
Dan. The Secret Service was present for that game, so the taxpayer money that was used to protect Vice President Pence is certainly a concern. But Vice President Pence and a lot of people on the right in this country follow the same line of reasoning, and that's that these Anthem protests aren't protesting necessarily racial inequality or social injustice. They're protesting the flag, the troops, things like that. So the messages, the communication is getting very confused in the sort of glut, the communications glut that we kind of are inundated with almost every day.
All right, so now moving over to kind of the big story of the week. Roger Goodell meeting with the NFL, now the Players Association. Earlier in the week, it was said that he was just meeting with owners to discuss banning the flag. Now things have changed. The Players Association is getting involved. What's going on there?
Well, you see, he actually said in his memo to all 32 NFL teams, the controversy over the anthem is a barrier to having honest conversations and making real progress on the underlying issues. We need to move past this controversy, and we want to do that together with our players. So what Roger Goodell is saying right now is that this has become a distraction to football, and we need to show that football is for the fans, not for protesting. And that is the biggest problem that is happening right now. Initially, he said he wanted to make that change because he wants players to stand to get past this distraction. However, the NFLPA has gotten involved, so the Players Association is now with the NFL, and they have decided that they are not going to make a rule change to allow players to be forcibly standing during the anthem. And in the end, this all comes back down to Jerry Jones, because we all saw last week in the Cowboys game, Jerry Jones made a statement saying that any player who does not stand for the national anthem will be benched. And that, in my opinion, that is not something that an owner should be forced to do, because he's telling players to choose between business and the community.
You're exactly right, Zach. You know, it's a bit of a shift in Goodell's line of reasoning here, because a couple weeks ago he was supporting the protest, saying supporting the players' First Amendment rights. But now he says, quote, like many of our fans, we believe that everyone should stand for the national anthem, in a letter he sent out to the owners on Tuesday. And it speaks to the disconnect sort of between Goodell and the NFL owners and the NFL players who are kneeling for the anthem.
All right, so a bit of a loaded question here, because I'm thinking these players are coming in, they've been protesting for weeks, some for years even. What do they want, and can they get it done in this meeting?
It pretty much comes down to the fact that what they want is a solution. They don't want this to become a distraction. Like I said before, what they want is for players to actually act on what they're protesting. You can kneel all you want, you can link arms all you want during the protest, but unless you actually start putting money towards all of these efforts and getting out in the community and making your face shown, you are not doing anything but distracting from football.
I agree. There are plenty of athletes that go out and actually help the community. These players that are kneeling for the anthem, they're trying to raise awareness for these issues, but nothing can actually be solved. There's no solution in sight unless these players use the money, use the resources that they have to come out and actually solve some of the problems, the inequality in the country.
So we've seen the NFL season get kind of more and more intense in these protests. You've seen the NHL season start, and you've had issues there, and the NBA season is about to start. What can we look forward to in the upcoming months?
What we can look forward to is pretty much the NHL. I don't think much is going to happen there. We've already seen JT Brown of the Tampa Bay Lightning. He has come forward and he has raised his fist during national anthems because he is a minority himself and he wants to raise awareness for it. And he made a statement on Twitter as well saying that what he is doing is not disrespect for the military, not disrespect for the flag, but to raise awareness for racial inequality in this country. And he's already received death threats. And everyone knows that the NHL is primarily a white sports league. So you're not going to see a lot of protests there. However, once the NBA season starts next week on Tuesday, I do believe you are going to see some sort of protest. But the problem is, Commissioner Adam Silver has already made it very apparent to all owners and team members that there is a rule stipulating that all players must stand for the national anthem. However, we have seen retired players like Kobe Bryant say that he would kneel had he if he was still in the NBA. You have current players like Enes Kanter for the New York Knicks say that if this rule did not exist, he would be kneeling because he thinks that is what is right. In the NBA, we are going to see some sort of protest. I don't know what it will be, whether it's linked arms, fists in the air, something.
It's certainly going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Back to the NHL with JT Brown, Tampa Bay Lightning player. He's actually received widespread support from the NHL players, which we have established is already a majority white, majority Canadian league. Devontae Smith-Pelly, who is an African-American player, he's publicly come out in support for JT Brown's protests. And Lightning alternate captain Ryan Callahan has said, quote, "We've got his back." So you can clearly see the amount of support that he's getting. But what's going to be really interesting is the NBA tips off the regular season this Tuesday with the Warriors in action. So the entire country is going to be watching. It's going to be really interesting to see how that plays.
And you saw Stephen Curry, you saw LeBron James come out against Donald Trump. And I think when you have two all-stars like that, you're going to see this larger protest. I want to bring it to the really broad question that's kind of come out of this. Should sports and politics be linked or should they be separate? We've seen a long history of that, but what do you think?
I definitely believe sports and politics should be linked, especially you can see in the NBA exactly what is going on. They will be forced to stand for the national anthem, but we just had press day a while ago to get ready for the preseason, and you saw many players get asked about politics. Bradley Beal for the Washington Wizards straight up called Donald Trump a clown. You also have LeBron James, obviously one of the biggest names in all of sports, come out and say that he is not for Donald Trump. There are so many sports players that are just against this presidency, and it's starting to reflect the community's values as a whole. I do believe these two things of sports and politics can be intertwined because right now where we have a president where young kids are looking up and seeing these bad examples of how to not go about legislation and other policies, now they are looking to their sports players because they are the ones who are reflecting the values of the community in the younger generations.
You're right, Zach. Kids grow up watching athletes. Athletes have an incredibly powerful message to be said, and they have an incredibly powerful platform because of the Twitter followers they have, the platform when it comes to press conferences and stuff like that. And now with these anthem protests, there's obviously a huge amount of communication that can be done. But the question as to whether sports and politics should be intertwined, they can certainly be intertwined, but they should be intertwined. People at home watching sports, watching football on Sunday, they're doing that to sort of get away from it. They're not necessarily wanting to see, their favorite football players engaging in a political protest. So that's one of the major issues that's divided the country is should it happen? And you can get lots of great arguments for both sides, but I personally believe that you can have a great avenue for protest for sports, especially now in the 21st century with all the great communication we have.
All right. And now I've kind of already asked this, but I want to get one final opinion from both of you guys. What do you think in the NFL or the NBA or even the NHL, what do you think is the biggest thing we're going to see in the next maybe 2-3 weeks?
Dan, I think the biggest thing we're going to see with the NBA season starting is that there is going to be some form of protest. Like I said, they have to stand. I don't know what they are going to do. Like I said, fist, linked arms, something. Somebody is going to say something that is going to irk Donald Trump again, and he's going to make some sort of comment, and then Commissioner Adam Silver is going to have to crack down on players. So no matter what, the NBA will make some sort of statement in this upcoming season.
So you think it's going to blow up again?
I do believe that this is going to blow up again. We have not seen the end of protests.
I would have to agree. The protests in the NBA are, like you said, they can't kneel or anything like that. But we have seen J.T. Brown in the NHL. He raised the power fist during the national anthem. That's certainly a possibility. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, Dan.
All right, well, thank you guys so much. That's all for now. I'm Dan Prager, alongside Zach Lang and Jack Watson. Stay tuned for more Talking Points episodes and clips. Follow Citrus TV News on Facebook and Twitter. Have a great night.